Philosophical concepts are not relics of the past, but vital tools for navigating the complexities of our modern world. They provide individuals with the intellectual foundation to make ethically sound decisions, think critically, and engage meaningfully in both personal and societal contexts. In an age marked by change and uncertainty, the relevance of philosophy remains undeniably paramount.
Concept of freedom. Freedom is generally understood as the ability of an individual to act without being subject to external constraints that do not follow from their own nature or will. In addition to this negative approach, freedom is also conceived as the possibility for an individual to determine themselves and control the course of their actions. In other words, freedom implies a certain margin of indeterminacy left to human action, requiring the awareness of this freedom for the individual who acts. Freedom is involved in various contexts. It conflicts with the possible existence of natural determinism. It is crucial on a moral level, being linked to responsibility, and it is at the heart of political and legal reflections. The philosophical debate on freedom has followed many directions. Some key questions include the philosophical hierarchy of different forms of freedom, the relationship between human freedom and the laws of nature, the determination of the nature of freedom, is it a property of the will or of action, and how to reconcile freedom with the determining influence of the social, cultural, or even unconscious environment. Historically, Aristotle conceived of freedom as the concrete power of choice, applicable to anything that is not strictly determined. Nicomachean ethics. For him, being free means having one's own end in itself. Metaphysics. Later, throughout history, the concept of freedom took on religious dimensions, distinguishing a higher form of freedom, associated with God, from simple human free will. Descartes evoked the notion of degrees of freedom, arguing that the clarity and distinction of our goals increase our freedom. Meditations on first philosophy. Spinoza defined freedom as the act of acting in accordance with the necessity of one's own nature. Ethics. Leibniz associated freedom with the contingency of action, intelligence, and the consciousness of the agent. According to Rousseau, freedom is fundamental, especially in the context of civil society, where it is linked to the general will. Kant renewed the reflection on freedom by introducing the concept of autonomy. Being free is to act according to a law that the individual imposes on themselves, and this law ultimately coincides with reason. Critique of practical reason. In Hegel, freedom acquires an objective dimension in the state. Elements of the philosophy of right. In the 20th century, Schopenhauer and Nietzsche questioned freedom as free will and independence of the will. Nietzsche even argued that freedom was only a concept invented by man to interpret his weaknesses as virtues. Bergson understood freedom as an expression of the self, without the need to necessarily invoke a moment of choice. For Heidegger, freedom is at the heart of existence, while Sartre considers that freedom is what makes being happen to the subject, through the goal of a project that defines it. Hannah Arendt proposed a political perspective on freedom, considering it an essential concept in the political field. The crisis of culture. Today, the questions related to freedom in various fields, metaphysics, physics, morality, politics, religion, continue to fuel an essential philosophical debate. Contemporary thinkers, such as Charles Taylor, have contributed to this discussion, and the philosophy of action, represented by philosophers such as Williams, Frankfurt, and Davidson, also explores these questions.